Alright, welcome back to MGD 111 Photoshop. We're going to take another look at the eyedropper tool. In our last lesson we were using it to select colors for our foreground. Anywhere that I clicked you'll notice this foreground square picks up the color that I've clicked on. Now what about this background color here? And again I'll explain what these colors are used for a bit later on here. But if I click on the background color, this thing pops up. What the heck is that? Well, it's called the color picker. And it works in a lot of different ways. We have this neat square here, and you'll notice right now this little corner up here is selected. If I just move to a point anywhere in this square, it's going to select that color, and it's going to put it here in the new box. The other thing too is we have this slider, we call it the rainbow slider. I can pick a point anywhere on the slider, and you notice my dot stays in the same place. That's the same saturation and lightness of that particular color. Basically we're messing with hue, saturation, and lightness here, although here you see it's hue, saturation, and brightness. But you notice as we mess around, moving these things around, the hue changes, but the saturation and the brightness remain the same if we keep the circle in the same spot. So that's a pretty cool thing. If I move this circle around from place to place in this one square, you'll see that the hue stays the same. But we can pick any color we want out of this spectrum here that we can use for various purposes. Now, another thing too, if I move my cursor outside of this box, I'm afraid to, no, go ahead, it's cool. If I move it outside the box here, you'll notice it becomes the eyedropper. And so if I click on something, it will pick that color based on the settings of my eyedropper tool. So if I use that, if I had it on the point sample, then it's going to select whatever color I pick here. So I can click OK, and now that is my new background color here. The color picker can be used a lot of different ways too. If I were to use, say, the brush tool, I know we haven't studied that yet, but if I use the brush tool and I select Option, it becomes temporarily the eyedropper tool, and we'll study the brush tool here in a bit. So it becomes that particular tool. Let's click on the foreground here again. So I've got my color picker here. Now there's several different ways that we can use our color modes here. One in particular is kind of interesting. When we do web design, even though the web looks very colorful, it only uses a certain spectrum of colors. So there's an option here for only web colors. So when I click on that, it gives me this weird breakdown where basically it's saying all of the colors that were in this area up here need to fall into this particular shade. All of them need to fall into here, need to be that particular shade. So if you're doing something on the web, and you'll notice our rainbow slider changed too. So if you're doing something that needs to be web-safe colors, you want to use that option. The rest of the time though, don't. In fact, I rarely use it. When I'm processing a photo for the internet, and I'm putting it on a web page, I'll just go with a standard RGB JPEG photo, and I'll let the web break it down as it will. It doesn't compromise it too much. Now you may have noticed here we have a few different combinations. Remember when we looked at the Info tool up here? Remember how we have the combination of R102, R102, let's pick a different color, 48, 153, 172. If I click on that, you'll notice those colors, that are the exact shade of numbers, showed up here in RGB. We can construct colors in RGB if we know what we're doing, or we can construct them in CMYK. Most people don't know how to construct an RGB color except by picking it out by eye. A lot of people, though, graphic designers, do understand how the color formulas work for CMYK. For instance, if I am drawing a particular character in one of my cartoons, he was an elephant. Let's see, it was 50% blue, 50% magenta, 0 yellow, 0 black, and he was sort of a light purple color. So I just remembered anytime I needed to color that character in Photoshop, I could punch in 50, 50, 0, 0, and all these other numbers will adjust accordingly. So this is your color picker. It's a very important thing. Why is it important? We'll get to that soon. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Stop, and then we're going to take another look at this picture with some more tools.